In today's video, I'm going to cover the 3 things about retirement that I wish I learned sooner. In my experience as a partner of a retirement planning firm working with many pre-retiree and retiree clients, I've realized that these things come up time and time again. That's why I'm making this video, to make sure you know about these mistakes earlier rather than later in retirement. I'll not only cover what these 3 crucial factors are, but also share an example to help you implement them into your own plan. Let's get right into it. The first thing that I wish I'd learned sooner is that curveballs are more common than you think. Retirement planning is filled with uncertainties. Unexpected events like family emergencies, market downturns, or health crises can derail even the best laid plans. Early in my career, I underestimated how common these surprises are and how much they can truly impact a retiree's financial stability. I've since learned that planning for the unexpected is almost as important as planning for the expected. I've worked with many clients who assume that their savings would only need to cover planned expenses. However, the reality is different. Life has a way of throwing curveballs, and without flexibility, like a contingency estate plan or a cushion in your budget, even a small setback can snowball into a major financial problem. For example, healthcare costs are often hugely underestimated. Historically, these costs have risen by 1.5 to 2 times faster than the cost of normal goods and services like groceries and haircuts. This may not sound like much, but in relative terms, these costs can realistically double as a percentage of your total spending over the duration of your retirement. And that's just the medical side of the care spectrum. Custodial care costs can have an even greater impact on retirees, particularly retired couples. If a spouse needs care and doesn't have long-term care insurance, which has become unaffordable to many Americans, medical insurance will not pay for these services. If the spouse not needing care lives for a long time, they'll be required to largely spend down their assets until the government will step in to pay for the care through the Medicaid program. Early in my career, I didn't fully appreciate how these expenses could truly derail a retirement plan. If I was more conscious of the severity of these issues, I would have put greater emphasis on scenario planning and spent more time talking through different contingency plans should something catastrophic occur, like a debilitating cognitive or health diagnosis. These lessons shape my approach to planning and have inspired me to be more thoughtful around the balance between maximizing pleasure in retirement without compromising the ability to navigate these challenges. This lesson matters because without a process for planning for potential surprises, retirees might be forced to cut back their lifestyle, re-enter the workforce, or have to rely on their children for financial support during their later years. For example, failing to account for healthcare costs growing faster than normal household expenditures could lead to too much stress being put on the retiree's assets during their later years at a time where flexibility may be needed to pay for things like a home health aid or could limit a legacy for surviving family members. Although some households that I've worked with have been aware of these risks and even overestimated the odds of them occurring, many retirees find these surprises shocking because they either underestimate how frequently these events may occur or they believe that they won't happen to them. These misconceptions often stem from years of focusing on asset accumulation, which is a totally different ballgame versus the phase of distributing assets to meet your spending needs in retirement. To help pre-retirees and retirees better plan for these curveballs, I do a number of things differently. For starts, I make more granular assumptions around how different categories of costs may rise over time. So instead of Medicare and Medigap premiums rising with normal cost inflation, instead, I'll assume that these costs will rise by 1.5 to 2 times as fast, which they have historically. This can capture a lot of uncertainty. Think of a couple who's paying $9,000 a year annually for their Medicare Part B and supplemental Medigap insurance premiums. By assuming that these costs rise at a rate that's more in line with their historical trend, they go from accounting for 5% of their total spending at the beginning of retirement to 8 to 10% of their total spending during their later years. Another adjustment that I tend to make is in the trajectory for Social Security cost of living adjustments. It's no secret that the program has its challenges, so I think that it's smart to offer some cushion by assuming that Social Security benefits will rise by a bit slower than normal goods and services. This can create a healthy buffer that further reduces long-term uncertainties around their ability to navigate life curveballs. When it comes to planning for long-term care-related risks, I tend to focus more on scenario planning as opposed to baking in concrete assumptions into the base case plan. So for example, I'll model how a long-term care event might impact each spouse's lifestyle, and depending on how they feel about uncertainties or how comfortable they are with risk, we'll talk through what it might take to mitigate these risks in terms of required savings, spending adjustments, or investment changes. And just as importantly, we'll discuss potential contingency plans they might consider exploring further with an estate planning attorney and the cost-benefit trade-off of long-term care insurance. At a minimum, we'll know what to expect should this type of event occur. In addition to these more conservative assumptions in risk event scenario planning, I'll further stress test plans to show clients how their plan might hold up should these and a bad market outcome occur simultaneously. This really takes it home in terms of helping retirees truly feel confident in their ability to reach their long-term goals. The key in all of this is to acknowledge that unexpected events are more common than you think, and to plan accordingly. The second thing that I wish I had learned sooner is that recency bias is one of the most powerful forces that can derail a solid retirement plan. This cognitive tendency causes us to place too much importance on recent events while discounting the long-term context. I see this a lot, and it really introduces a layer of complexity that can make investment and other financial decisions very challenging. When it comes to bigger picture retirement planning, this type of bias tends to occur in two ways. The first is the retiree or retired couple who's managed to grow their wealth substantially by participating in this secular bull market that's essentially been in place for the last decade and a half. They've had a positive experience building wealth from a strong market, and they've been rewarded by holding the course during the brief periods of volatility that we've experienced. This is obviously a really good thing that they grew wealthier, but the problem is that the success can dull their perception of risk. So when faced with investment and financial decisions, they're fully comfortable accepting risks that are now magnified by the fact that they're pulling off of their money. The second example is the opposite, and it occurs from a shortened perspective. The person or the household is now retired, and they're extremely nervous. They experience a short or an intermediate bout of downside market volatility and project the future based on this experience. In this case, their fear of what's recently occurred blinds them of their needs to grow their money in order to sustain their long-term spending in retirement. The problem is that investing is always supposed to be balanced, and these extreme cases of recency bias often result in emotion taking the wheel and shoving logic in the back seat. Many retirees are surprised by how their emotions influence their decision-making because they've spent years preparing for retirement but may not have experienced prolonged market volatility or the psychological impact of drawing down their assets. They expect retirement to feel secure, yet recency bias can create unexpected stress and lead to decisions that undermine their financial stability. Early in my career, I focused heavily on the technical aspects of financial planning, but underestimated how cognitive biases, like recency bias, shape real-world decisions. Recognizing this earlier would have allowed me to provide clients with not just data-driven plans, but also tools and strategies to navigate their emotions during volatile periods. I often encounter retirees whose risk perceptions are misaligned with their financial needs due to recency bias. On one hand, those who have experienced long periods of market growth may have become overly confident, taking on risks that feel justified based on recent success, but may not align with the realities of drawing down their assets in retirement. On the other hand, some retirees shaken by recent market downturns may become excessively conservative, pulling back on growth-oriented investments to the detriment of their long-term goals. For clients who are overly confident, I emphasize the importance of balancing growth with risk management. This involves reevaluating their portfolio allocation to ensure that it reflects their stage in life and their income needs, not just their recent experiences with market success. In these cases, I find it really valuable to explore how the inherent downside exposure of their aggressive portfolio can magnify the impact that downturns might have on their money should they occur early on in retirement. For those who are overly cautious, I help create a step-by-step plan to reintroduce appropriate growth investments, demonstrating how this strategy better supports the growth that's required to safely fund their future spending needs. I also find it helpful in this case to carve out in the upwards of 5 years of their annual spending and purchase a guaranteed bond ladder. By doing this, I found that these clients grow more comfortable with the riskier side of their investment ledger because of the protection that the bond ladder offers. By grounding these adjustments in a structured, long-term plan, I aim to align their portfolios with their retirement goals while addressing the emotional factors that drive their investment decisions. What tends to be the outcomes of these exercises? Retirees who initially underestimated risk gain a clearer understanding of how to balance it with their broader strategy, avoiding unnecessary exposure. Those who are overly conservative often find relief in seeing a manageable path to growth that doesn't overwhelm them. In both cases, the outcome is a renewed sense of confidence confidence in a portfolio that's better suited to their needs. This balance of emotional and financial stability ultimately allows my retiree clients to enjoy retirement without constant worry. As you can see, these things can have a massive impact on your retirement. However, I can only cover so much in this video. You need to understand that there could be other things setting you back from potentially harming your plan. Failing to identify them before it's too late can lead to unwanted surprises during retirement. So to make sure that you're not missing any hidden mistakes, I'm offering you a complimentary one-on-one call. On the call, I'll take a look at your current plan, identify areas of concern, and create a step-by-step plan to help you get back on track. To book your call, just click on the first link in the description. But on to the next point. Another thing that I've learned about retirement is that expenditures rarely drop when somebody stops working. While it's true that certain expenses like commuting or work-related costs may decline, many retirees find that their overall spending remains the same or even increases in some areas. This becomes problematic because your projected spending in retirement is arguably the greatest factor in assessing whether or not you have enough saved. So a lot of pre-retirees I've worked with have had a really hard time accepting the reality of their expected spending and latched on to aggressive assumptions that make things look better than they might actually be in reality. This can create a false sense of security, leading to financial plans that are overly optimistic and unprepared for the realities of retirement. Retirees often underestimate how lifestyle changes impact their spending. For example, with more free time, many individuals begin traveling, taking up new hobbies, or dining out more frequently like they should be in retirement. These leisurely activities, while enjoyable, they can quickly add up. Additionally, unexpected expenses such as home repairs, helping adult children financially, or rising healthcare costs often come as a surprise. It's not uncommon for retirees to encounter higher healthcare and long-term care-related costs as they age, which I've discussed earlier. This can dramatically alter their financial outlook. This can come as a shock to retirees as they've been conditioned to think of retirement as a period of reduced financial demands, largely because they no longer have to save for retirement itself or pay certain taxes like the FICA taxes they pay in their payroll. However, they often fail to account for how their spending habits might evolve or how inflation may erode the purchasing power of their money over time. This disconnect between expectations and reality can lead to significant financial stress. Earlier in my career, I didn't fully appreciate the complexities of retirement spending. I focused heavily on creating detailed savings plans, but underestimated how diverse and variable retirees' spending patterns could be. Recognizing this sooner would have allowed me to build more flexible plans that account for these shifting needs from the outset. I've worked with retirees who initially expected their spending to drop significantly in retirement, only to discover that their actual expenses painted a very different picture. For example, some individuals underestimated the cost of maintaining their desired lifestyle, while others were caught off guard by healthcare costs or the need to assist family members financially. Helping these clients involved taking a closer look at their spending patterns and stress testing their financial plans to ensure that they could handle these unexpected costs without compromising their long-term security. For retirees who underestimated their spending is to create a comprehensive spending projection that reflects not just current expenses, but also how expenditures may likely evolve as they age and factors in some space to account for unexpected items which have relatively unpredictable timing but predictable occurrence, if that makes any sense. This includes factoring in inflation, healthcare, and one-time expenditures like travel or home repairs. By building a realistic budget and incorporating contingency plans, retirees can gain a clear understanding of what their retirement might actually cost. I also work with clients to identify opportunities to optimize their income streams, such as maximizing Social Security benefits or leveraging tax-efficient withdrawal strategies. After completing this process, my pre-retiree and retiree clients often feel a renewed sense of control and confidence when they see a financial plan that aligns with their actual spending needs. By addressing potential shortfalls early and creating a buffer for unforeseen expenses, they're able to enjoy their retirement without constantly worrying about running out of money. This proactive approach helps ensure that their financial resources are sufficient to support both their expected and their unexpected expenses throughout retirement. Now you know the 3 critical things about retirement that I wish I had learned sooner. As you can see from my experiences, ignoring these things can have harsh consequences. That's why it's crucial to spot them as soon as possible. However, after years of being a financial advisor, I've seen many other mistakes that people make with their retirement plans. The only way to truly know you're completely secure is by fully analyzing every part of your plan. To make sure that you're 100% confident there are no holes in your plan, I'm offering you a complimentary one-on-one call. On this call, I'll measure your current plan success rate, flag any areas of concern, and create a revised action plan to ensure that your retirement is built for longevity. To get started, just click the first link in the description.